Hello and welcome to Positively United. Today, Thursday the 5th of March 2026, and it's the second video I've released today. It's still the day after the defeat to Newcastle, 2-1 at St James's Park. A pretty lackluster and pointless performance, literally, by United. And last night I did my initial match reaction. Earlier today, I issued the video of player ratings, and this video is the 5 insights I think we can draw from the game yesterday. So let's get straight to it. So the first insight, I think, is we need a midfield boss. What do I mean? Well, we were losing that midfield from the off. We were second best. Casemiro and Manu were completely outdone by Ramsey, Tonali and Joe Linton. And then Ramsey got himself sent off, and we still lost out in midfield to Tonali and Joe Linton. Joe Linton was superb. It's that player that I've got in mind, really. It's that style of player that I've got in mind. Somebody who can absolutely boss and bully the midfield. And we don't have that player at the moment. Maybe Casemiro was that player 5, 6, 7 years ago. He isn't that player anymore. And he certainly isn't that player if he's played the previous Sunday. He just can't do it. And he got substituted. But then again, so did Manu. Manu has noticeably dropped off in form over the last 2 to 3 games. I'm not sure what it is, really. I don't think he's playing worse. I just think he's lacking stamina, fitness. That's a bit of a concern, isn't it, for a 20-year-old? I'm only sort of theorizing and hypothesizing here, but we've kind of like talked ourselves into thinking that it's good that United are only playing 1 game a week. That whilst all the other teams are playing 2 games a week, we're going to be fresh for our games. We're going to be well prepared. We're going to be well trained. We're going to be that Carrie's going to have a whole week to get his tactics over to him. It's the same idea we had with Ruben Amorim, and perhaps we got it wrong. Perhaps we'd actually be better off this season if we were playing 2 games a week, because then the momentum would be kept up, and the physical fitness, the physical acuity of the players would be maintained, because it certainly doesn't look like it is at the moment. And it's certainly the case that in midfield with Manu and Casemiro, they just don't look up for it at the beginning of games. It means, for example, that in last night's game against Newcastle, the previous game against Crystal Palace, the previous game against Everton, and the previous game against West Ham, we've seen first halves where we've lost the initiative. Our midfield has been bossed. So Casemiro is going, we know that. And that is, although it'll be sad to see him go, and he scored the goal last night, of course, and as a midfield player who can find himself in goal-scoring positions, particularly headed goal-scoring positions, he's brilliant. But we need somebody actually who can control the midfield. I don't think, look, I was going to say I don't think that's Manu. I think Manu controls the midfield in a different way. Manu can control the midfield by receiving the ball, creating space and time, and then passing it on. But we need another style of midfielder with him who can physically boss the midfield. Not tactically boss it, physically boss it. Impose himself. Grab the midfield and grab the players in the midfield and make it work for us. We don't have that player at the moment. It's not Casemiro, it's not Manu, it's not Ugarte. We just don't have it. We need to get that player in the summer. We absolutely do. And I'm sort of like still making up my mind which of the players that is constantly mentioned that we're linked to is that player. I must admit, I did like Wharton on Sunday in the first half against Palace, but I then mentioned, of course, that he looked knackered in the second half and got substituted after, 56 minutes? Because he'd played on the previous Thursday. It's a warning sign. But he bossed the midfield in the first half. We need somebody who can boss the midfield. It's not going to happen this season, of course. And we really missed an opportunity in the January transfer window to get somebody in to do this. Maybe not as a first pick, but certainly somebody who could be brought on as a substitute or play the occasional game to act as an alternative to Mainu and Casemiro. Physically imposing would have been good, but it looked like we made no effort at all. That's a mistake. We should admit that. We should just say it straight. Not getting a midfielder in the January transfer window was a mistake. Next point, no width again. Now, this isn't new on the list of insights. It's been on there now for, the last 2 or 3 games? Certainly since West Ham, where I first saw it manifest itself. But it was no different last night. I've played the winning goal back over and over again because I wanted to look at different aspects to it. But where it all starts is Bruno trying to pass a ball through the eye of a needle to Cunha. Cunha then passes it back, off balance, doesn't really come to him pretty well. And is it Bruno? I think it is Bruno. He gets dispossessed, and that's where the game starts, and that's where the move starts. Now, Malacia's being out of position, and what Maguire then did is kind of like immaterial. It starts with us playing a ball right in the centre and being able to do so because it was so congested. But we did that all through the game. We never showed any width. We never had players who could stay wide on their natural foot and cross the ball. I appreciate this is really old-fashioned, but I long for the days of Ryan Giggs and Andrei Kanchelskis and David Beckham and Lee Sharp. Now, I know that in the modern era of Pep ball, or whatever it's called, such a thing as an old-fashioned winger who plays on the side that their strongest foot is, who runs down the byline, who runs down the line, gets to the byline, crosses it in. I appreciate that's all terribly old-fashioned and considered to be, kind of agricultural football. But boy, did it work. And it was really good to look at. Nobody plays it anymore. So I guess that's why we don't play it. But we've taken it to an extreme. For a good portion of the game, if you think about the pitch split up into fifths, wide left, wide right, centre, and then the 2 channels, the spaces in between. We play in the centre channel and the 2 spaces in between. We completely vacate the far left and the far right, where the winger would be. We give it up. Now, what some other teams do is to play attacking fullbacks in those positions, but we don't have attacking fullbacks. We saw that last night. We had 4 fullbacks on, if we count Malacia. But let's actually say it's 3. We had Shaw on the pitch, we had Dalot on the pitch, and we had Mazraoui on the pitch, and not one of them did that job well. I don't expect Malacia to do it well. But of our established fullbacks, Shaw, Mazraoui, Dalot, not one of them did it. And they haven't done it for weeks. Now, I know people talk about buying a left winger. We've got Cunha, we've got Mbeumo, who are going to be playing in those channels. The spaces, the gaps. Let's just assume that they keep that role. And they're very good players. Then what they need is somebody bombing either side of them. Cunha needs somebody going beyond him on the left, and Mbeumo needs somebody going beyond him on the right. An overlap, literally. Clues in the name. We need an attacking right fullback, and we need an attacking left fullback. I think next season we've got the left sorted out. We've got Dorgu and we've got Harry Amas. It's on the right we have absolutely nobody, as far as I can see. And that's what we need to buy. So I mentioned midfielders we need in the first insight. And I'm now talking about a right fullback. I mean, it might be, but Michael Carrick believes that the answer to the width problem is to buy wingers. And if he wants wingers, give him wingers, right? It's his team. They're his tactics. Well, however it's done, we've got to introduce some width into this team. Or the problems we've had against West Ham, against Everton, against Crystal Palace, and against Newcastle last night will just manifest all the time, and they'll never go away, and we'll never be able to strike for the Premiership again. Number 3, it sort of follows on from 1 and 2. It's the lack of squad depth. Actually, I thought 2 of the substitutes that came on yesterday actually didn't do a half bad job. I thought actually Ugarte was pretty good when he came on. Seriously, I genuinely do. You know, he had a couple of good actions. I thought Xerxes was really good. And that shot he had was first rate. And honestly, the save was excellent by Ramsey. But Diallo was subpar again. Malacia, as I said in the player ratings, I feel sorry for. Bringing him to Manchester United was cruel and unusual punishment for someone who clearly is not of an adequate quality to be playing for any team in the Premier League. Another Ten Hag masterclass in purchasing. But the problem for Carrick is he looks at that bench. Now, you could argue that Ahmad is a player who can change a game. So he's got one player on his bench who can change a game. But the rest, you can't guarantee that Xerxes will. I think you can virtually guarantee that Ugarte won't do. So who's he got? We lack squad depth. No question about it. And we need to address that in the summer. Is it time to be ruthless with the squad? What do I mean by that? Well, Michael Carrick would have had far more options available to him last night if Mason Mount was fit, and if De Ligt was fit, and Leacher was fit. But those 3 players are never fit throughout the whole season. Now, an awful lot of people will be, I think, quite worked up, and I'm going to have a go at Martinez. But I am. He's a brilliant player. He's a wonderful centre-back. And he's a great player to put in as left-back if we need one. They're great abilities, but the greatest ability is to be fit and available. And he's not. There's no doubt about Mason Mount. Mason Mount is ridiculously unavailable. And whilst, again, I think De Ligt is a fantastic player, I think he is the best of our centre-backs. Again, he's not fit. And what I mean by, is it time to be ruthless, is do we consider availability amongst all the other abilities that a player needs to have? And if a player consistently shows that they can't make themselves available through a season, then does that mean we show them a door? I actually think it probably does. I think Mason Mount definitely needs to be shown the door in whatever way works. I'm actually coming around to the thought that the same needs to be done with Leacher and De Ligt. Yeah, and I can hear the howls of opposition and derision as I say it. But I think we need to plan for players who are fit and are always available, because that will instantly increase the quality of the squad. And it will increase the quality of the bench. There are 3 players there in Mount, in Leacher and in De Ligt that should be in or near the team. If they were both fit, Leacher and De Ligt would have played last night. And that would have meant that Yoro would have been on the bench, and maybe Maguire also would have been on the bench. De Ligt and Leacher would have been playing as the centre-backs. That instantly improves our bench. And if Mount was fit, I'm not saying he would definitely be playing from the start, but he might be available from the start if, for example, we wanted to rotate Cunha out or Mbeumo out. But he would definitely be a good player to bring on as a substitute. But he's not available. Maybe I am being a bit of a devil's advocate there. Do I really want to see us selling Leacher? Probably not. Do I really want us to see us selling De Ligt? Probably not. But, when it comes to, say, somebody like Mount, I do think it's time for bye-bye. And I do think we ought to consider whether De Ligt and Leacher need to go too. If we can get good centre-back replacements, or we bet the future on Aiden Heaven and Lenny Yoro, then we should move them on. I'd say this: if a big club, say, comes in and says, we're going to give you 50 million for Leacher, I'd take it. And let them deal with the absences, not us. And finally, 5, let's not overreact. We're third. Now, it's probably not surprising that some of the anybody but Carricks have taken this one defeat as an opportunity to pile in with all sorts of ludicrous overreactions. We kind of expect it, don't we? Some of the fan channels out there, we expect them for likes and clicks and to make the 2nd million or the 3rd million that they've already made out of their YouTube fan channel. We know they're going to hype up the defeat. We know they're going to go for the jugular. We know they've got an agenda, and we know they're going to use this one defeat to further that agenda. But a final word on this. What I wouldn't expect under any circumstances is an ex-player like Paul Scholes launching into Michael Carrick as he did last night in his Instagram post. Now, I'm not going to show the Instagram post. It's been deleted now. But if you've seen it, you know what I mean. Nasty, horrible dig at Michael Carrick. Paul, you're an awful lot better than that. You formed in season 2006-2007 one of the greatest midfield partnerships I've ever seen at Manchester United when Michael Carrick joined. You and Michael Carrick in that season were sublime. We won the Premiership. I am beyond disgusted that you should have chosen last night to launch an attack on Michael Carrick. Shame on you, Paul Scholes. Shame on you. But as I said, we don't have to overreact. We're third. The day before Ruben Amorim was sacked, in January, would you have imagined that come the start of March, we would have been third in the Premiership? With an absolutely excellent chance of qualifying not only for Europe but the Champions League. Would you ever have imagined we'd be in this position? No. Carrick's done a really good job. Has he done the job that will ultimately get him the job permanently? No, not at the moment. And I wish that some of the YouTube influencers would stop this made-up argument that there are loads of people out there saying give Carrick the job right now. I actually hear very few people, if any at all, saying give Carrick the job right now. Everyone's learnt the lessons from doing that with Ollie. It won't be of any use at all to Carrick to be given the job now. Have I ever asked for him to be given the job now on this channel? No. I've said he needs to pass 3 tests. Qualify for Europe, do so playing the Manchester United way, And if he gets the job permanently, that the coaching squad he's put around him gets kept substantially. So maybe one person leaves, but certainly not the whole lot of them. Because we don't know how much of the squad of coaching talent he has around with him is the thing that makes him good or bad or whatever. So no, he's not going to get the job now. He shouldn't get the job now. But losing 2-1 at St. James's Park is no reason to say he shouldn't get the job at all, and that hipster Nagelsmann should get the job instead. Because if you think Nagelsmann, with the squad we have, would have got any better result last night at St. James's Park than we did, then you're mistaken. Would Nagelsmann be able to turn Malacia into a Manchester United quality player? No. Would Nagelsmann be able to turn the clock back on Casemiro's body and make him as he was 6 years ago? No. Stop pretending and don't overreact. There's a lot still to be very positive about United at the moment under Michael Carrick. He does need to address certain things. Of course he does. What he has to do is find some way of making the most of the unbalanced and deficient squad that he has. How he does that, I'm not sure. And maybe he does need to dip into youth. But that's up to him. And it's a big test for him. If he passes it, by the way, it'll just make his standing even higher. So I wish him luck. I really do. See, I'm wishing him luck. I'm not wishing him ill will. I'm not wishing he fails so I can prove a point. I want Manchester United to succeed. And I actually expect that everybody who calls himself a Manchester United fan to also want us to succeed too, not just gloat and say, I told you so when something goes wrong. That gets us nowhere. Okay, that's all I've got to say in this video. The 5 insights from the Newcastle game. If you like the video, please hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel. If you've got a friend who you think would like the approach that we take on this channel, please let them know about it and encourage them to subscribe too. In the description, there's a link to our X channel where we let you know of upcoming videos and we post on whatever topics throughout the day. There's also a link to our Ko-fi account if you want to make a donation. Be gratefully received. Ko-fi or coffee? I say coffee. Coffee account. Yeah, and that's it until our next video. No idea what it's going to be about, but it'll be out tomorrow, hopefully. And yeah, until we see each other again, try to remain positively united.